Hello, I'm Patrick Reames with ComTech Advisory. Welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Leaders in CTRM Technology. Today we're being joined remotely by two of the leaders of Enuit, a leading provider of ETRM, CTRM, and now CM software across the global energy and commodity markets. First, we're going to be joined by Mr. David Meyers, President of Enuit. David, thanks for being here.
Pleasure.
Next, we're going to be joined by Mr. Ken Han. Ken is CEO of Enuit. Ken, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Patrick, for having us.
Let's go ahead and start with David. David, I think most of the market is aware of Enuit and kind of the markets and products you provide, but for those that aren't, could you give us an overview of what Enuit does, what the products are, what your commodity coverage is, and geography and markets?
Thank you. Inuit is a maker of software for energy commodity trade and risk management. So there are many forms of energy commodities, and there's also other commodities which are not energy commodities, metals, agricultural softs, and so forth. Our product is very good at modeling risk inherent in trading those commodities, and also in modeling the logistical elements which are part of the financial performance of trading companies. We've recently created an extension to what is commonly termed as CTRM software, and we call this extension InTrade Unite, and it deals with more of the supply chain cost management. Companies that require this sort of an extension aren't necessarily your pure trading shops. They're more of it could be wholesalers that buy in bulk and then retail their products into local markets, and they could be manufacturers or producers of some sort that bring in raw materials, transform a product, and then they sell out their finished goods. So those are elements of it: warehouse inventory management, business process management, or formalization, and also trade lifecycle management are elements of this extension we call InTrade Unite. And in the future, we'll probably have another extension or another form of the product called InTrade Lite, which helps with the more down market, smaller trading companies with the basic capabilities of our product, but are more quickly installed, and they're obviously more suited price-wise to that particular segment of the market. Inuit itself has a pretty broad reach now, pretty much global. We have our North American market where we started, and in 2016 we spent a lot of time developing a presence in the Asia Pacific market, and also in China, which is at that time China was right on the cusp of opening up their markets to more international style trading, and so we caught that market pretty well, and we've developed pretty strong brand awareness and presence in both Asia Pacific and in the Chinese market. We're looking now at this time to extend that into markets, for instance, the European market, and also there's a Japanese market that we have a smaller presence but growing, and also even in the Indian market where we're attempting to establish ourselves too. So we have a pretty broad presence around the world, and we're looking to grow that presence, and particularly our brand awareness.
Ken, if we could turn to you for a minute. Both you and David have been involved in this space for many years, having been involved in the launch of Nucleus, one of the first commercially available ETRM systems. What do you see as the most significant technology or commercial developments over these last 2 decades, and how are those changes reflected in how you have developed and are currently delivering N-Trade and your other products?
Yes, Dave was one of the pioneers of CTRM industry. He has been doing it for close to 30 years. I myself close to 25 years now. Back in the days, as software developers, we had to deal with many technology-related tedious things, which are much different from today. Technologies have evolved big time. They allow us as software developers to focus on domain, which is commodity trading. Commodity trading has been very complex and is more complex nowadays. As for CTRM systems, most of these systems were designed to handle one or two specific commodities. As they were successful and they attempt to expand into other commodities, we have seen many failed attempts because the root design of these systems were just not meant for multiple commodities. It is almost like you're trying to build more stories onto a single story house. The foundation was not designed for that. Our N-Trade is probably the first CTRM system which was designed from ground up to handle multiple commodities. It was not easy at the beginning, but it pays out in the long run. This is one of the biggest reasons why Inuit was able to grow rapidly in multiple commodities globally. As existing clients of N-Trade, they can just start to trade new commodities on one system by just doing configurations. For example, one of our clients in Singapore, they went live with N-Trade on iron ore and coal. Several months later, they needed the system to handle copper concentrates. Their IT did the configuration themselves, and then they just called us for additional license for copper concentrate users. We're not just talking about simply being able to capture transactions. They manage risk, logistics, settlements, credit, and pretty much everything in N-Trade. The flexibility, the comprehensiveness, the ease of use, and one system covers all commodity are the things that truly set us apart from any of the other vendors. Hope this answers your question.
It does, and I appreciate the depth on it. Another question for you, Ken, since you are technology focused. If there's a top trend that we've seen at ComTech Advisory over the last 5 years, it's certainly cloud and the adoption of cloud across all markets, across all geographies. What are the insights, what are the details you can provide us in terms of Inuit's cloud strategy? How are you moving to the cloud?
Absolutely. The simple answer is N-Trade 7. N-Trade 7 is the next generation or major release of N-Trade. It is microservice-based architecture and with user interface support web and mobile devices. We're heavily investing in the technology upgrade of N-Trade. Although the current version of N-Trade 6 is already delivered to our clients on the cloud through Azure, AWS, and other cloud providers. N-Trade 7 will give much improved user experience without the need of virtualization software. In addition to the technology upgrade, Inuit will soon be SOC 2 compliant. Going through the SOC 2 compliance process truly helped us in many ways to ensure that we can securely protect the client data according to the regulations. Technology upgrade and SOC 2 compliance are the two main things we're working on to improve our cloud offerings.
Great, I appreciate that. David, let's move to you a second. You guys have had a lot of success in the Asian markets. It seems that when I talk to you on a regular basis, or we see press releases, it's clearly you're doing very well in those China and Asia Pacific markets. And I think there may be a perception in the marketplace that you guys are becoming a specialist in that area and that you're focusing on Asia Pacific to the exclusion of other markets. Is that perception true?
Absolutely false, Patrick.
Well, that cleared it up.
It is true that we may have been in the Asia Pacific market, Chinese markets, a little bit longer than the other markets, but I think that it was more a function of the opportunities there presented themselves earlier to us than the European markets or some of the other markets. But we are actively engaged in the other markets, and our presence and the awareness of our presence is growing in those markets. It just hasn't quite developed to the point of the Asia Pacific market or Chinese markets, probably due to our being in those other in the Asia Pacific markets a bit longer. But no, we are very much looking to expand into every viable market in the global context. Yeah.
Well, to that point, I do know you guys have had considerable success in North America, where you started in the U.S. energy markets, and you've opened the European office. So I was going to give you the opportunity to dispel it, but I can also do the very same thing, given your successes that we're aware of. So I appreciate that. Last question. We're running a bit short on time here, but I did want to touch on this. And Ken, I think it's probably a question for you. 2020 was clearly a challenging year for all technology and all businesses out there. I mean, clearly the pandemic was a huge event in this marketplace. What kind of impact did it have on Inuit? What were your results in 2020? And what do you think are the key lessons that Inuit has learned during that period that you can carry forward once the pandemic has kind of resolved itself, which I think we're getting close to?
We had a good year in 2020. The first several months we were caught off guard a little bit, just like many others. As you know, we have clients and projects in many regions globally. The travel restriction did have some impact, but thanks to our team, especially the team locally in each region, we were able to quickly adjust and adapt to the situation. Not only that, we were able to close several major deals. One word, resilient, is our team. Another issue that we had to deal with was the delay starting of some of the projects. The healthy cash flow, especially debt-free nature of Inuit, was one of the key reasons which allowed us not only to survive, but also to expand in more regions. We opened additional regional offices, including Shanghai and Tokyo in 2020. At the beginning of 2021, we opened our Bangalore office in India. Having local staff in key markets is one of the key strategies for our growth.
Okay, I appreciate it. Guys, we are out of time, unfortunately, but I appreciate you joining us today. I think it's been very enlightening, and I think it's given certainly the market a better view of where you guys are as a company and the successes that you've had recently. So I very much appreciate your time. So that's it for us for this episode of Conversations with Leaders in CTRM Technology. Again, I want to thank David and Ken for joining us today. For more videos like this, or also our podcast, CTRM Radio, you can see the CTRMcenter.com website or our corporate website at ComTechAdvisory.com. Thanks a lot.